Hey guys, I'm sorry. I don't really even think I can actually do this video. I'm really sorry. I mean, I gotta do this whole video talking about Nick Cage almost playing Superman. Nicolas Cage almost played Superman. This close, too. How does it seem like one of the best casting decisions ever, and yet one of the worst casting decisions ever? I mean, Nicolas Cage is batshit crazy in almost every single one of his movies, and pretty much not of this world. And that's kind of what you want him to do when he's playing Superman. He's not of this world, so yeah, put him in the role of Superman, because Superman's not of this world either. But it seems like one of the worst casting decisions ever, because it's Nick Cage playing Superman. That would have been one of the worst acting jobs. That would have been one of the worst acting decisions ever, or one of the funniest acting decisions ever. I mean, I'm probably more leaning towards the funny part of it. I mean, I would have just loved to have seen Nicolas Cage play Superman, and I probably would have laughed my ass off throughout that whole movie if they did get around to making this movie. I mean, I know he's a big fan of the character, and that's probably why they picked him, but that would have been so funny to see Nicolas Cage playing Superman. And it's not the first time they tried to play a comic book character. He tried to play the Green Goblin in Spider-Man, and he eventually did play Ghost Rider in, well, Ghost Rider, horribly, mind you. But I'll get into more of Nicolas Cage's involvement in the movie as the video progresses. But for right now, I'm going to be talking about Superman Reborn, or Superman Lives. Now, this is a special video for Super Month, because this is a video where I talk about a movie that was never ever made. It came very, very close to being made, but for various reasons, as you'll find out as the video again progresses, you'll find out the reason why this movie was not made. And I didn't say sadly, because you'll find out. This movie was never made, but there were many, many, many attempts to do that and to get this movie made in the early to late 90s. And this movie went through many different writers, many different directors, and overall just is pretty much the definition of production hell, where it, many people try to get it off the ground, they try to revive it, they try to bring it back, and then ultimately nothing happens. So this is pretty much, in my eyes, the definition of production hell. That's why I don't have any Superman movie title on my screen. I just have the big Superman S logo. So today, instead of talking about a done and finished and released Superman movie that we all watched, I'm going to be talking about a Superman movie that was never finished, never released, and pretty much a lot of people did not see. So that said, let's get started with talking about Superman Reborn. Now, I just want to stress that I have a bunch of notes right here that I wrote pretty much about Superman Reborn, so that I don't forget and that I don't lose track. So if I'm at all looking over at my notes and I'm taking a little bit to get some information and to tell you guys about that, I do apologize. I just really want to get this information out and clear and make sure that it's 100% correct information and not false. Now, I got most of my information from Wikipedia. Who doesn't get their information from Wikipedia? I mean, come on. And most of this information is from Wikipedia, as well as various different things that Kevin Smith, who was one of the writers at one point of Superman Reborn, or Superman Lives, whatever you would like to call it. And by watching some of his videos, I learned more about, Superman Lives. I got a lot more information from that. So I got some of my information from many different articles, Wikipedia, as well as various different videos that Kevin Smith had, done talking about his involvement with Superman Lives, or Superman Reborn. So that said, let's get this video started. I'll put also links in the description to some of the various different websites that I found my information from, if you would like to read it. And, if I got anything wrong in the talking about this video, any information wrong, then do not at all, hesitate to telling me that in the comment section below, and I will, in a future video, correct my, mistakes in this video. But that said, let's get this started, finally. Now, this all started with Superman 4. Actually, before Superman 4 even came out. Don't all things bad in the Superman franchise just stem from Superman 4, but pretty much before Superman 4 was even released, canon, the production, the producers that will produce Superman 4 were pretty much going, if Superman 4 is really successful, yeah, right, and also critically successful, again, yeah, right, then let's go ahead and make a 5th Superman movie. of course, Superman 4 sucks, so of course they never got to make a fifth Superman movie. So so Canon never at all produced or did another Superman movie. But if they did, Christopher Reeves would have reprised his role as Superman. Now, due to Superman 4 absolutely sucking at both the box office and with the critics, Canon, the company that produced it, decided not to do a fifth Superman movie, and they also went bankrupt. Canon went bankrupt. And so, because of their bankruptcy, the film rights to Superman pretty much reverted back to the Salkinds, who had produced and made the previous 3 Superman movies before Superman 4, I believe. And they were like, you know what, Canon wanted to go and do another Superman movie, so how about we go and do another Superman movie? And their title for that movie would have been Superman the New Movie, which I'm pretty sure is the title of like a Pokemon movie, I think. I have no idea, but apparently they're going by Pokemon titles before Pokemon even came out, so time travel, I guess. But pretty much the plot the Salkinds had made up for their Superman movie, their fifth Superman movie, would have actually involved Superman dying, which I find kind of interesting why they would choose Superman dying, because they came up with this story way before the death of Superman had come out. So it's kind of interesting to see or hear that they wanted to go and do a Superman dying story when that wasn't even a thing. So that's kind of really interesting to hear, and would have really been kind of interesting to see how they had pulled that off, or what he would even be dying of. But pretty much the gist of their story would have been Superman would have been dying, and he would have been resurrected in the bottle city of Kandor, which is Supergirl's home, I guess. So that would have been the story for the Salkind version of Superman 5. And again, Christopher Reeves would have reprised his role as Superman in this fifth movie. But apparently, in 1993, Warner Brothers had bought the film rights of Superman from the Salkind, and they 1993, Warner Brothers went to the Salkinds and they said, we're going to buy the film rights to Superman from you. And they pretty much then had gotten the film rights to Superman. So, the reason why the Warner Brothers, of all people, got the film rights to Superman was because, due to the great success, both financially as well as critically, due to the success pretty much overall of the death of Superman comic storyline. This is actually from 1993, I believe. Yeah, 93. Due to the success of that comic storyline, Warner Brothers was like, you know what, everyone's talking about Death of Superman, how about we go ahead, buy the film rights, and then make a movie based on that comic book. It's just going to rake in a whole bunch of cash. So that was pretty much their intention. They had intended to make a Superman movie at the time of Superman's, death in the comics, as well as make a movie based on that death in the comics. So that's pretty much why they had bought the film rights and what the movie would have been made from. And I said that. And now Warner Brothers at the time had hired John Peters as executive, or I just think producer, I think executive producer of this new Superman movie, which would have been titled Superman Reborn. And I bring John Peters up because he will be important later, but I bring him up right now because John Peters had worked on 2 other movies before. One was Batman, of course, and one was Batman Returns, again, of course, and he had worked with Tim Burton on that. Tim Burton was the director, and I mentioned Tim Burton now because he is important later, because he would have directed Superman Lives, but didn't, and I'll explain why later. And I bring this up because it's funny that, both of them worked on one DC comic superhero movie, and now they're working on another DC comic superhero movie, now Superman, originally Batman, now Superman. It's just like a nice little funny coincidence that I always like pointing out in my videos. But, that explains that. Now, Peters was pretty much executive producer, and I've actually learned a lot more of the producer's job in movies. Producer's job in a movie is pretty much, they're kind of like the CEO. Like, in a business, you have the CEO, and then you have a boss. Well, producers are kind of the CEOs of movies. Like, they pick the directors, they pick the writers, and they kind of put money into the movie. So the producers do actually have a larger part than even the directors. I had never known that before, so I guess a lot of people do have a little bit to complain about with this new Ninja Turtles movie, Michael Bay doing it, and Megan Fox is in it. That's also stupid, by the way, but I'm not talking about Ninja Turtles, I'm talking about Superman Lives, so let's get back to that. Now, John Peters had hired a writer named Jonathan Lemkin. Lemkin. I can read the first name, the last name, Lemkin. I'm not sure if that is the correct way to pronounce it. If so, I apologize. But he had hired Jonathan Lemkin to write the script, and Lemkin was told to write the film for the mainstream 90s generation, as well as the general audience members. And he also wanted the movie to be written as a family-friendly, more toyetic. He wanted the movie to be marketed towards the 90s MTV generation, the general audience members, and he wanted it to be family-friendly and toyetic, which is very similar to the way that Batman Forever was made. And Batman Forever, everyone knows, was just such a brilliant movie. And that was the same way that Batman and Robin was made, and everyone knows that was even a better movie. And that's pretty much the only reason why this movie was kind of made. Not really to tell a good Superman story, but pretty much just to sell a bunch of merchandise and a bunch of toys. Hell, the whole reason why this movie was even made to begin with was to even put more, market on, the death of Superman, pretty much. Because that was one of the biggest moments in the 90s. The fact that Superman had died in the comics. That's the reason why they wanted to make a movie, just to even cash in more on, the death of Superman. So that was the whole reason why this movie was made to begin with. Just to sell a bunch of merchandise and just to rake in a bunch of cash. And, the more toyetic, that's actually a word, by the way, more toyetic, so that they can sell a bunch of toys and stuff like that. So pretty much everything in the movie can be made as a toy, which is really just ridiculous. That was the same way that Batman Forever was made. Same way that Batman and Robin was made. And again, those were just such great movies. Weren't they? No, they weren't. They sucked. If you want to know, they were horrible. Well, Batman Forever was alright. Batman and Robin, horrible, but it's kind of funny. But that was pretty much the way that those movies were made. And that was the same way that they wanted this movie to be made. They wanted to have it be very marketed towards kids and all that. Even at one point, as just proof to how this movie was just made just to sell a bunch of toys and just to sell a bunch of merchandise. At one point during production of this, they had brought in a bunch of kids and asked them to judge certain designs of the movie and see if they were if they were kiddish enough or more toyetic. So pretty much, if Superman Lives would have been made, it would have technically been designed by children for children. That is a new low even for Hollywood. This movie would have been designed by children because they wanted to just sell a bunch of toys. That's really sad. That's a new low, even for Hollywood. And as more proof to how this movie was pretty much just made just to sell a bunch of toys, some major toy companies at the time really wanted to see Lemkin's script of Superman Reborn, which would have been called at the time. And they wanted to, read the script and, see a bunch of stuff in it. And they wanted to see it. Again, major toy companies wanted to see the script for the new Superman movie before the deadline of the American International Toy Fair. Probably just to produce, again, a bunch of toys and show off a bunch of toys because, hey, it's a new Superman movie. You gotta have a bunch of toys for the kids. So this movie wouldn't have been made to tell a good Superman story. It would have been made just to sell a bunch of Superman merchandise. The same way that Batman Forever and Batman and Robin were made. It wasn't to tell a good Batman story or to make a good Batman movie, just to sell a bunch of merchandise and make it really kiddie and marketable and not an actually good, technically speaking, good movie. So there was that. Now, Lemkin's script included, story-wise, it had Doomsday in it because, again, they wanted to make a Death of Superman movie, pretty much. It involved Doomsday fighting Superman and, of course, Superman's death happening. And then before Superman died, this is where things just get really, really weird and out of whack. Superman would have died, but before he died, he pretty much confessed his love and his affection for Lois Lane. Pretty straightforward, I guess. Okay, so what's wrong with it? Well, what happens is, his soul, or it says on Wikipedia his life force, but I'm just saying soul. His soul gets transferred to Lois Lane. Okay, what, does he possess her? No. Stay with me here. His soul gets transferred to Lois Lane, and Lois Lane becomes pregnant. And Lois Lane gets pregnant, and she has a virgin birth. And that kid is Superman and Lois Lane's kid. And the kid is not like any, usual ordinary kid. He literally, in like a span of a few weeks, I believe 3, he grows to be 21 years old. And then that kid grows up to be the new Superman, hence the title Superman Reborn. And surprisingly, this is such a huge shock, right? Surprisingly, Warner Brothers did not like the script, but not for the reason that you would think. Warner Brothers disliked the script, and not because of the holy shit Lois gave birth to Superman idea, but because the movie had some similarities to Batman Forever. Oh, of course. What else? Of course. That's the whole reason why that script was scrapped. Not because of the holy shit that's so fucking ridiculous that Superman was birthed from Lois Lane. Not because of that idea, but because it was a little bit too similar to Batman Forever. Oh, yeah, of course. Who would have guessed anything but? And what specifically that was very similar to, what was very specific, what specifically was very similar to Batman Forever that was in Superman Reborn was that, Superman's obligations of heroism was very similar to Superman's, obligations of heroism. So, they didn't like the script because it was a little bit too similar to, Batman Forever. They'll get rid of that script, but they won't get rid of it because of the holy shit virgin rebirth of Superman from Lois Lane. If those were the words that I heard come out, if I was a studio executive, a producer, and I heard my writer, say those words and say that was in a script, and say, in this script, Lois Lane will have a virgin rebirth of Superman, I would have been like, you know what, we need to have a talk. I would just stop right there and just say, okay, I don't care what else it's similar to, you fix that script, and you take that out of the movie, and you figure out something else. The virgin rebirth of Superman from Lois Lane. That should be like a t-shirt. Say, that almost happened. This almost happened. Virgin rebirth of Superman from Lois Lane. That almost happened. That should be a t-shirt. Someone get on that, because I would buy it. That's just how dumb that whole idea was. But, like I said, Warner Brothers didn't like this script. The studio didn't like the script. So, John Peters, the producer, again, hired a new writer named Gregory Poirier. I'm going to say Poirier. Again, if I mispronounced it, I apologize. I'm trying to pronounce his names as best as I possibly can. But Poirier was hired on to rewrite Lemkin's script almost entirely, but some stuff from Lemkin's script was still left in Poirier's rewritten script, such as Lois Lane and Clark Kent having relationship problems, as well as Superman's fight with Doomsday that results in both the death of Doomsday and the death of Superman. But some stuff that was a little bit different from Lemkin's script was that Brainiac was added into the equation. He was pretty much the main villain when, after Doomsday was killed. And instead of just Doomsday being there, Brainiac would have created Doomsday, and he would have had, I want to make sure this, Doomsday would have had kryptonite blood, which sounds pretty badass. It's like the same reason that I like Metallo, because it's a villain that runs entirely on Superman's weakness, and that's like the ultimate villain. This would have been even better. It kind of gave Superman a reason that he died, because I never really understood why Superman had died because of Doomsday. I mean, Superman's like the strongest superhero character in the DC universe, so him dying from being beaten too much from Doomsday was kind of like, like Superman gets beat all the time and he doesn't die. Here it kind of does explain it, because his blood is made of kryptonite. Everything that he pretty much runs on kryptonite. That, kind of explains why he, it was so hard for him to beat him and why he ended up dying while also taking Doomsday's life. Would have explained that. That's something that I really do like, and it just sounds badass. And then, the script was also finished in it was finished in '95. I just want to mention that because it might be important later. But Doomsday would have had kryptonite blood. I mentioned that. And then after Doomsday died, Brainiac would be pretty much the main villain, like I mentioned. He was already the main villain to begin with, but he would have been the actual forefront villain instead of Doomsday. And then Superman would be resurrected. This is, again, where things just started to get really weird. Superman would be resurrected by an alien who's also a victim of Brainiac called Cadmus. The name sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Cadmus, which is like an organization in the DC comic. I'm not exactly sure what the organization is. I know it's a certain organization. I know it's a really big part of the DC universe. But the alien would have been Cadmus. And he was a victim of Brainiac, and he would have resurrected Superman. And Superman and Cadmus, the alien, would have teamed up, and they would have defeated Brainiac. And that's pretty much what the movie would have been. But, like, why couldn't you name it something else? Like, Cadmus is, like, a big part of the DC universe. Why name something Cadmus when it's not the Cadmus that we all know it from? It's just weird. But Superman and him would have Superman and Cadmus would have teamed up to defeat Brainiac, and that would have been the movie. Superman would have also wore, like, this robotic costume that would have helped him with his powers, because Superman would have lost his powers, and this robot suit would, like, mimic its powers, and he would wear it until he can, you know, get all his powers back. Which is really weird. Like, why take away Superman's power? That's what he's known for. It's just, like, completely taking away everything that we know him for. But, yeah, he would have had a robotic suit, and he would have, yeah, I mentioned that. And also, villains other than Brainiac and Doomsday, villains that also were included besides Brainiac and Doomsday would have been Parasite and Silver Banshee. So instead of just 2 villains or 3 villains, you have 4 villains. It's a little bit too much, don't you think? I don't know how they would have been worked into the plot, but it just says that they would have been in the movie, so I guess that's cool for Superman fans. And this script, now this script, I'm not 101% sure, I'm not even 100% sure the script is what it is, but pretty much Kevin Smith, who was writer and I believe director of many films such as Clerks and Mallrats, I love Mallrats. I haven't seen a whole lot of Clerks, but I love Mallrats. And Kevin Smith is kind of a funny dude. And he's a big comic book writer, but pretty much he had met with Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers had wanted him to rewrite a bunch of scripts to many different movies because they thought that he was a good enough writer, I guess. And Kevin Smith, you know, while he's at Warner Brothers, heard that they might be doing a new Superman movie. So he was like, oh, man, can I, you know, probably go ahead and do the Superman movie? He was like, and, you know, Warner Brothers was like, well, maybe, but take this script with you and you can read it and just, you know, do whatever. Now, I'm not sure if this is exactly the script that he had read. I'm not sure if it was the Poyer script that he read, which I just explained, or the Lemkin script that I explained just earlier. But I'm pretty sure it is the Poyer script. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about that, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. But I'm pretty sure he had read the Poyer script. So Kevin Smith went to Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers wanted to discuss some stuff with him. They had wanted for him to rewrite a bunch of scripts. One of them being Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. That's literally a thing. And by the way, he pretty much talks about his whole experience on working on Superman Lives or Superman Reborn. So if you want to hear a more in-depth look, he worked on the movie, so he does know a whole lot of shit about what happened. But if you want to go and look and listen to him talk about his experience on the movie and a lot more, sort of like a more in-depth look at, you know, how he, you know, what he did while working on the movie and the whole experience on working on the movie, definitely check that video out. I'll put a link in the description, and it's absolutely hilarious. It's about 19-20 minutes, but, you know, it's worth every minute. It's really, really funny. That's where I got some or most of my information from. But he had read, while at Warner Brothers, heard that they might be doing a new Superman movie titled Superman Reborn, and they were like, oh, hey, if you really want to read the script, go ahead, take the script home and read it. And then he had read it, and I'm pretty sure it was the Poyer script. And the best way that he described it, he thought it was really bad, but the best way that he described it was, and I quote, this is an actual quote from Kevin Smith in that video, I'll put a link in the description for it. His quote was, describing the Poyer script of Superman Reborn, was that it was like the Batman TV show version of a Superman movie. Very, very campy. That was the best way that he described it. It was pretty much just like, you know, Batman, the 60s TV show, just with Superman and a movie. So he pretty much went back to Warner Brothers. He had told Warner Brothers what he thought of the script, and he pretty much was just like bitching on the script, just saying like, did you like pay the writer did you pay someone to write this? Can you get that money back? And he was just like saying this for like days and days and days to like different executives at Warner Brothers until he had gotten to the main guy at Warner Brothers, Mr. Warner. No, not actual Mr. Warner, but pretty much the big guy, president of Warner Brothers. And the president was like, well, if you can rewrite the script and, you know, if you can do a lot more better job on this, then we'll give you the job. But what he had done what he had to do in order to get the job, in order to, you know, write the screenplay for this, he had to meet up with the executive producer on Superman Reborn, who is John Peters. And again, if you want to hear a lot more funny and a lot more in-depth look at his conversation with John Peters, is absolutely hilarious, because I'm only, like, you know, I only wrote down, like, cliff notes and just the gist of what, you know, was being said during his meeting with John Peters, but it's absolutely hilarious in his video, and the way he explained it is just so fucking funny, and you definitely do need to check out that video. Link in the description. Again, go check out the video. It's hilarious the way that he describes this, but he was given a job if he had met up with John Peters, like I mentioned. So he met up with John Peters, and he had pretty much pitched an outline for the movie and how he would do it. And then John Peters was like, okay, I'll let you write the screenplay, because again, the producer chooses the writer, on pretty much 3 conditions. If Kevin Smith had included these 3 elements into the script, then you know, John Peters would give him the job. The 3 conditions were pretty much this. Number 1, and bear with me here, Superman would not wear his iconic outfit. Again, Superman would not wear his red, blue, and yellow costume, which everyone knows him for. The second condition was Superman would not fly. He would not fly at all. And then the third condition that Smith had to follow in order to get the job of writing the screenplay was that Superman, at the end of the movie, or at the very least at the third act of the film, would have to fight a giant alien spider, which Kevin Smith would later call, a Thangarian snare beast. I want to repeat that again. Condition number 1, Superman wouldn't wear his iconic outfit. He would wear an all-black outfit. Second condition, wouldn't fly. And 3, he had to fight a giant spider. Now, the way that, Smith pretty much agreed to these terms because he Kevin Smith is a huge comic book fan. Like, if you want to know anything about comics, Kevin Smith is like the go-to guy for that. Like, he is a fucking huge comic book fan, and he knows, like, shit tons about comic books. In fact, he's actually written many comic books. He's actually been in some comic book movies like Daredevil. He's had cameos in, you know, like in the Daredevil movie, and he's written many comic books. So he agreed to these terms because he really wanted to write this movie and make the best possible Superman movie that he could make. Now, the way that he had worked these conditions into his screenplay, and I'll put a link in the description for his screenplay in the description below, but the way that he had worked these really ridiculous, really unbelievable conditions into a script were actually really good. I actually read pretty much most, like 3/4 of his script, and for the most part, it really wasn't that bad. If they had made a movie on this script, I at very least would probably get like a 7.5 or like 8 out of 10 red suns for me personally if they had made it into a movie. But the way that he had worked these conditions into the script were actually pretty, you know, good, and were actually very decent. Now, I'm going to basically talk about these conditions first. 1, Superman not wearing his iconic costume, and 2, him not flying, just gets completely rid of just the sheer amount of popularity that Superman is. The reason why he's called Superman is because he can do super things like, 1, fly. So taking flying away from Superman is like taking, like, lightsabers away from Star Wars, or, web shooters away from Spider-Man. It's like a big thing that everyone loves those movies for. Why would you take that away? Especially his costume. You're just making this character, probably the most iconic character ever, less iconic and less recognizable, taking away his flight and his costume, again, is like taking away lightsaber from Star Wars and web shooter from Spider-Man. Everyone loves those movies and Superman for those reasons. Well, not because Superman has web shooters or lightsabers, but if he did, that'd be awesome. I would see that movie for sure. But because he's really iconic, and he's iconic for these reasons, so taking those two things out of the equation is making just him even less iconic. And if he couldn't even fly, then how could he fight the giant spider at the end? And I know some people say that, well, in the early version of the comics, Superman never, flew, he just jumped from place to place. But, that was then. This is now. People don't remember Superman mostly because, in the early comics, he jumped a lot. He didn't fly, even though he had a cape, which still doesn't make sense to me. Now people recognize Superman for flying and being super, hence the name Superman. So, having him not fly, again, is just completely making this character less recognizable. And to make Superman less recognizable, who is probably the most recognizable character ever, that is a huge, huge crime. Now, the only problem, funny enough, in all three of these conditions, is the giant spider, which a lot of people say, oh my god, that would have been so ridiculous and so stupid. I honestly didn't really mind that at all. Like, isn't Superman all the time in comics or in movies and video games always fighting giant monsters, whether they be giant aliens from outer space or giant robots? So this really didn't bother me. It just seemed like, well, yeah, what else would you really do? I mean, it would be a big step up from the other movies, So I didn't really mind the whole giant spider thing. But going back to Kevin Smith's version of the script, he had written a screenplay for it. And again, I write pretty much 3/4 of it, of the script, and it's not really that bad. If it was made in the movie, I'd probably give it a decent rating. But the way that he had worked those three conditions into the script were really, really good. Like, for one, Superman not wearing his costume was actually explained because he wore, like, this black costume so that he can, I guess, regain his powers. It would help him, like, regain his powers and help him, get better. And the reason why he couldn't fly was that the sun was blocked out. And I'll get to that in a minute. The sun was blocked out from Brainiac, and the sun was blocked out, and Superman pretty much didn't have any of his powers at all. Not only flying, but he didn't have super strength, laser vision, or ice breath, or freeze breath, or whatever. He didn't have any of his powers at all, so it didn't really matter. So he actually kind of worked that into the plot, so that was really good. And even when he was flying, it wasn't really that he wasn't flying, or he was just really running fast, or jumping from place to place. It was just that he flew so fast in mid-air that it was just, like, described as this red and blue blur in flight, which is very similar to the way that he was in the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel, where he just, ran so fast, or he flew so fast, that was just like this red and blue blur, not Blair, I keep on saying Blair, sorry about that, whenever he was flying or whenever he was running, which would have been, again, a nice slow, explanation. Like, he is faster than, like, a locomotive, as, it's been said many, many times, so having him fly really, really fast that you could barely see him kind of would make a lot of sense. Like, it's not just, like, flying up in the air and seeing him, really fly. It's just, he's so fast that he just, like that. And that's something that's really, that was kind of interesting to see. And also, again, like, he would have wore, his iconic costume in the beginning. Again, the red and blue blur, sorry. I just say Blair, I'm sorry. He would have wore his costume up until after he defeated Doomsday and after he died. But again, it was explained why he just wore a black costume most of the movie, because he was wearing that suit to pretty much help him get his powers back so that he can regenerate and just get better and get his powers back a lot more quicker. So I didn't really mind that all that much. So that was kind of cool. After that, again, yeah, in the giant spider one called the Thangarian Snare Beast, which kind of sounds like something that, like, a satire of, like, Star Wars would call it. I'm not sure if that's actually, like, the name of it, a name of anything in the DC Comics, but it sounds kind of silly. But hey, giant spider is already silly, so the name like that kind of, fits, I guess. But the funny thing is, again, Kevin Smith mentions this in his 19-minute video, An Evening with Kevin Smith. They pretty much, John Peters, in 1999, produced this movie called Wild Wild West with Will Smith. It's a horrible movie. Don't ever go see it. I'll probably review it sometime whenever. But it's a horrible, horrible movie. Don't ever go see it. And at the end of the movie, there's this giant, like, mechanical spider in the wild, wild west. Like, the old west. Like, 1800s, I guess. And John Pierce produced this. And that's probably the reason why he put that in there. Because he wanted it in Superman. Superman never got made. So he was just like, I'm just going to throw that in here. Even though it doesn't make sense. It's really stupid. And that movie... I don't really know if I should say it's really bad. It's probably really, really funny, but that's just how bad it is. Because that giant spider at the end is just so fucking stupid. It's the Wild Wild West. Why would there be like a giant mechanical spider? It doesn't make any sense. Now, story-wise, Smith's script involved Superman fighting Doomsday again, because they wanted to, adapt that, like I said. And like in other scripts, Superman would have died, and then Brainiac would have also been the main villain in it. He would be the main villain, but instead of creating Doomsday, he would just kind of send Doomsday to kill Superman. And also, Lex Luthor would have been our secondary villain, who would later team up with Brainiac to defeat Superman. And their big plan is that they pretty much block out the sun. I'll get to that in a minute, but they pretty much block out the whole sun with some type of little device from the entire planet, which kind of begs the question: wouldn't everyone just on the planet die? I don't know, but I'm no expert in, like, science or whatever, but, whatever. And their big plan was that they were going to block out the sun, and then they would release, because the sun pretty much powers Superman. Superman gets all his powers because of the Earth's yellow sun. And Superman would, and then Brainiac would unleash Doomsday onto Superman, and Superman would pretty much have a really hard time fighting him, because Superman barely has any of his powers. So, Superman would die, and also Brainiac, Doomsday would die, but he would be killed by Brainiac, because Brainiac really wants to be seen as a hero in the public eye, when really he's just the puppet master, pulling all these strings, making everything bad happen. That would have been pretty much the plot of the movie, and yeah. Now, the blocking out the sun thing, probably a lot of people already pointed it out, and probably are already quoting this thing, but... Simpsons did it, and yeah, Simpsons did, in fact, do this way back in an episode of Simpsons. Even me, a guy who doesn't even watch The Simpsons, pointed out that was just like, that's literally like the episode from The Simpsons that I never saw, but I know that's from The Simpsons because I heard it's from The Simpsons. Really dumb, and kind of like blocking out the sun. I'm not sure if the episode came out before this had happened or after. But probably after, probably before, because everyone was saying, it's just a rip-off from the Simpsons episode. And Brainiac was pretty much just playing the Mr. Burns role again. I don't even watch The Simpsons, and yet I pointed out that was just from the Simpsons. Kind of weird. And also, Brainiac would have killed Superman, but Brainiac was also in pursuit of this robot that keeps Superman safe called the Eradicator, who I also believe was from the comics. And the Eradicator, Brainiac is searching for the Eradicator so that he can pretty much absorb all this energy and he can be, like, structurally better. Because Brainiac can only live off, like, sucking energy from, like, other, like, miscellaneous stuff. So sucking the energy from, like, the Eradicator would have made him perfectly fine. He wouldn't have to take energy from other stuff. And he also wanted to possess both the Eradicator and its technology. Because the Eradicator is like pretty much like a transformer. That's the first thing when I was reading the script. I was like, Eradicator is pretty much a transformer. That's kind of cool. Because he was the ship. He was the ship that brought Superman to Earth when he was a baby. And then when Superman dies, or when Superman's heart rate gets like all messed up, the Eradicator like transforms into like this Kryptonian robot that helps out Superman. Has like Superman's powers. That's kind of cool, and it would have had Superman have like a nice little cool sidekick and all that. But it was a cool idea, I'm not gonna lie. I already talked about that. Now, Peters suggested pretty much a lot of other material to Smith when Kevin Smith was writing this. And one of those was that Brainiac would fight polar bears at, like, the Fortress of Solitude. Not really fight, he would just kill, like, one polar bear and another one would just run off. Again, Kevin Smith mentions this in the video, if you want to hear him talk about it, which is way more funnier, link in the description, whatever. And because Peters, thoughts on that were like, well, you gotta have, like a big action scene or just something really badass happen, you just have to. And one of those was, of course, Polar Bear showing up out of nowhere and just like about to kill Brainiac, and Brainiac just takes it and just snaps his neck, and the other polar bear just runs off. Originally, Peters had suggested that, well, why doesn't Brainiac just fight Superman's guards at the Fortress of Solitude, which kind of is self-explanatory. One, why would Superman need guards? He's Superman. And two, the Fortress of Solitude, emphasis on solitude, it means he's alone. There's no one else at the Fortress unless he brings someone there, or unless someone goes there, someone breaks into it while Superman's there. It's like, it's common knowledge. This guy obviously didn't know shit when he was making this movie. But, you know, Peters had suggested this to Kevin Smith. I'm talking about Peters, not Kevin Smith. Peters doesn't know anything about Superman, so that's kind of a big problem. And then Brainiac would give Lex Luthor a space dog, which would, in, you know, Peters', you know, reasoning behind that was because, well, you could have made a really awesome toy from that. Again, the movie was just made just to sell a bunch of toys, not to tell a good Superman story, again. And then Brainiac would have a robot assistant, Elron, who's in Young Justice and who is Despero. No, not the little mouse Despero. I mean, like, Despero, the alien, the one-eyed alien dude. From Young Justice. Elron was in that, and he would have been in this movie, and he would have been voiced by Dwight Ewell. His last name is spelled E-W-E-L-L. Ewell. Dwight Ewell. I'm not sure, but I believe he also worked with Kevin Smith on Clerks, and Peter was like, that guy has a really good voice. How about we have him voice his, Brainiac's little robot assistant. So that would have happened, and that was just some stuff that Peters had suggested that Smith write into the script that, you know, Smith had wanted, that Peters had wanted, and Smith had to write. And then this is where stuff just started to get official, that Tim Burton had signed on to pretty much direct the movie, and Tim Burton, and I'll go into that in a minute. And then this is where I get into some funny-ass stuff. Now, Nicolas Cage pretty much had signed on and was confirmed to play Superman. And he actually did actually try on the costume. He actually was in some, you know, costume fittings before the movie was even made. And again, Tim Burton was the director, had signed on to play both Clark Kent and Superman, like I mentioned. And before I get into any more of this, I just want to show you guys some pictures of Nicolas Cage as Superman. These pictures are not fake at all. They're not fake at all. These are actual costume fittings of Nicolas Cage as Superman. Now, I just want you guys to breathe in and breathe out, because there is a probable chance that you might die of laughter from this. But just bear with me here. I'm about to show you pictures, so on. Alright. Hold on. Now, again, don't die from laughter about this. Hold your breath. Hold on. This is one of the pictures. That literally is a costume fitting of Nicolas Cage. That's a wig. That is actually a wig. This doesn't even look. This looks like a dollar, like your dollar store average Superman costume, not like a movie magic Superman costume. And then this one is not as funny, but it's very, very interesting. Which looks a lot like just like your average Superman suit. It actually does look official and like a lot, movie accurate Superman. That's kind of cool. There's also some concept art, of what Superman would have looked like if Superman Lives was made. This video's going long. I'm sorry about that. One of them, Superman wouldn't have wore his classic blue and red and yellow costume. Well, at least not for long. But this is some concept art of what he would have looked like. He would have had like a silver S on his chest, and he would have also wore a complete black suit with a really dark red, almost burgundy cape. Which again is just making the character even really just not iconic, which is really sad because it's Superman, the most iconic character pretty much ever. And then this is also some concept art, some pre-production concept art of Superman fighting the Thangarian Snare Beast. You can see that. It's really ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. I also have some other stuff. What was it? There's also some more concept art of Superman in his costume, which definitely does look very Tim Burton-y. I guess that's not even a word, but it looks a lot like sort of Tim Burton drew that. The cape's a little bit more, brighter than the other one, but kind of weird. They definitely do contrast, like black then red. It's kind of weird. Kind of like the shirt, black and red. Then you also and then there was also this teaser poster, which I'm not sure is all that official, but it might be. The movie was slated by the time Tim Burton had signed on and that Nicolas Cage had signed on. The movie was slated for a summer of 1998 release date. And here's pretty much, it's pretty average. It's a Superman symbol. It says coming 1998. Not really all that much. Kind of average. Not really that important. And then you also have what else? No, that's really about it with the pictures. That's really about it with the pictures. That's pretty much all I, could scrounge up that I was sure was pretty much official. So by the time Tim Burton had signed on, by the time Nicolas Cage had signed on, it was, there was a set release date. Now, Burton and Nicolas Cage were pretty much signed these contracts called pay or play contracts, which meant if the movie was made, they would still be paid, and even if the movie weren't paid, then they would be paid. That's pretty much the gist of it. There's a lot more technical stuff going in, but that's pretty much the gist of the pay or play contract. Cage was Burton was paid $5 million for his directing job, and then Cage was paid for $20 million for his acting job in the movie. And both the director, cast confirmed. The release date was announced, 1998, and the film. And by this moment, when Nicolas Cage signed on and Kevin Smith was officially the writer, the movie now was Superman Lives, no longer Superman Reborn, just Superman Lives. And, you can probably tell that it would have been Superman Lives because of the story I just told you. So it does kind of make sense to be called Superman Lives. The movie entered pretty much pre-production in 1997, like exactly a year before the movie was supposed to be coming out in 98. But Burton, Tim Burton pretty much was like, you know what, I really don't like the script that Kevin Smith wrote, or I don't want to use the script that Kevin Smith wrote, so I'm going to get this guy, Wesley Strick, I hope I'm saying that right, Wesley Strick, I'm going to get this guy to, come over here and rewrite the script, and we're going to go with that script instead. So Kevin Smith pretty much had a lot of work to do with the movie, and Burton was just kind of like a dick to him and just rewrote his script entirely. I haven't read Wesley Strick's script, but I have read Kevin Smith's script, and Tim Burton was kind of a dick move on Tim Burton's part or whatever. I mean, maybe he had some, good reason for it. It was kind of like an asshole-ish thing to do. He just not liked him. He just not like Kevin Smith. So having him, just come in and just say, I'm not going to use this script, I'm going to get this guy to rewrite your script, you're fired. It's kind of like a big asshole-ish move, Tim Burton. Come on, be a little bit more nicer than that. But Wesley Strick pretty much completely rewrote Smith's script, and he had a complaint about, again, my complaint with the whole, the whole blocking out the sun thing being similar to The Simpsons. Wesley Strick pretty much shared the exact same thoughts. He didn't really like that idea, and he just completely rewrote everything. Again, I went to that. Now, Strick's script would have had Lex Luthor and Brainiac in it, just like Kevin Smith's script, but it would have had both of them merging into one being known as Lexiac or Luthiac. I've heard both, that would have been used for the movie, but it would have been really stupid. They did that in like a Justice League, I think, Unlimited episode. So I'm not sure if Justice League, the animated show, got it from this proposed movie, or if that was just a big coincidence that happened, or, whatever. But, kind of weird. I think they probably got it from this movie or whatever. Maybe it was just a big coincidence, who knew. But it would have had them both forming into, like, one being or whatever, so I guess, yeah, why not? And then Warner Brothers had thought that the rewritten script by Wesley Strick was pretty much too expensive to film. So yet again, they got another writer, who this time was Dan Gilroy, to rewrite the script into something that was a little bit less expensive. So yet again, it was rewritten, and due to Gilroy's script, Strick's, script was estimated to be like $190 million if that were adapted and filmed, and Gilroy's script would have been $100 million. So they went with Gilroy's script because it was less expensive to film and to make. And in '98, and then a year later, in April of 1998, I guess 2 months before Superman Lives was supposed to come out, the film was not made. Nothing was pretty much done with the movie at all. Not a single thing. And pretty much the same year that the Superman Lives was planned to be released, the studio was just like, whatever, we're holding the movie. We're going to, postpone it a little bit. They pretty much put the film on hold. And because of this, Tim Burton was just like, I got better things to do. I wasted a whole year on this movie with absolutely nothing to do. And apparently he had many disagreements with the studio and with John Peters. So he was just like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to go and do... he went and did Sleepy Hollow, which I believe was released the following year in 1999. So, Tim Burton, due to, the film being postponed, he was just like, I'm done, and he left. And, Tim Burton pretty much, still to this day, describes his experience on Superman Lives as pretty much one of the worst of his life, if not the worst experience of his life. Nothing went right. He had many, many disagreements with John Peters in the studio. Just nothing pretty much went right during the production of this movie. And then, by the time production halted on Superman Lives, about $30 million was spent on the movie and nothing to show for it. Nothing that was worth $30 million was here to show for it, which really is kind of disappointing. That could have been $30 million. You could have put something towards something like with more that. This is money that we could have put towards something that was worth it. We could have put this money towards starving kids in Africa or finding a cure for cancer. But no, it was just wasted on a movie that was never released. It's kind of sad. But yeah, about $30 million was spent, nothing to show for it, and John Peters, and pretty much, even though Burton left, John Peters was still going to other various directors, saying, hey, do you want to direct this Superman movie? Hey, do you want to make this new Superman movie? And they just all turned it down, rightfully so, and then they got this one guy, and then Peters, I believe, hired this guy named Will Wisher Jr., to write a completely brand new script around this movie, and which started in 1999. And Nick Cage pretty much helped Wisher out with some story elements of it, which completely went to waste because the following year in June, I believe, of 2000, I know it was the year 2000. I'm not sure if it was June or not. Nick Cage was just like, you know what, I'm done. This movie I've been working on since 96. Nothing's happening. Nothing has happened. It's supposed to come out 2 years ago. I'm done. And he just left the project entirely. And John Peters was still like, no, we gotta get the Superman movie going. And he literally offered the role to Will Smith. I'm not talking about the guy who was the lead environment artist on Arkham City or Arkham Asylum. No, I'm talking about Will Smith, the Will Smith. From Men in Black and in After Earth. Why am I mentioning that movie? But Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air guy. He offered the role to him, and I'm not at all trying to sound racist or anything, but even he said that, he didn't want to really do it due to ethnicity concerns, which pretty much just shows that John Peters was, at this point, extremely desperate to get this movie out and to just get this movie released. So, get this movie out and get it made. He was just extremely desperate at this point. And then, that pretty much sums up the whole production for Superman Returns, Superman Reborn / Superman Lives, and pretty much one way to describe it in one word, hell, or in 2 words, clusterfuck, because this movie is never made, never at all, made, never at all, and it was just a clusterfuck of just different ideas, of different writers, of different directors, and, different actors. It just was a giant piece of shit, pretty much, just the best way to sum it up. But something interesting I found was that many other, actors were actually considered to play certain roles in the movie. At one point, Kevin Smith, seeing as how he wrote some of Superman Lives, and he had a big involvement on the project, he pretty much recommended some actors such as Ben Affleck as Superman, which I can kind of see a little bit. Jack Nicholson as Lex Luthor, the Joker, so he goes from Joker to Lex Luthor. It's kind of weird. Jason Lee, My Name is Earl, as Brainiac. I cannot see that at all. Jason Lee as Brainiac. What? I don't know. And then Jason Mewes as Jimmy Olsen. Jason Mewes plays Jay, along with Kevin Smith in Jay and Silent Bob, like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, or in Clerks 2. But he pretty much plays the character Jay, who's also the sidekick of Kevin Smith's character in, those movies, Silent Bob. I could kind of see that, and he's pretty much just like casting his friends pretty much in these roles, except Jack Nicholson. I think he was just like, Jack Nicholson, why not throw him in? And then at one point, Kevin Spacey was actually recommended to play Lex Luthor. Warner Brothers actually, he was in talks to play Lex Luthor at one point, which is absolutely hilarious because he ended up playing Lex Luthor in Superman Returns. So it's kind of funny to see him, he was recommended at one point, that he actually played the character years later. Very good, by the way. I'll get more into his role when I review Superman Returns. And then Tim Allen and Jim Carrey were at one point going to play Brainiac. Tim Allen, maybe, no. And then Jim Carrey, again, why are you casting all these Batman actors from Batman movies as Superman villains? It's kind of weird, especially if you want to do, one merged universe. It doesn't really add up. And if that weren't enough, Michael Keaton. Yes, the Michael Keaton, the first, live-action, modern-day dark Batman from Batman 1989, was actually going to be in the movie, but he was going to have some involvement in the movie as, an unspecified role. But I don't know what role he would have played. Well, maybe he would have played Batman, because Kevin Smith's script actually had Batman have a cameo in that, so maybe he would have showed up as Batman. But at that time, the time this movie would have been released, George Clooney was Batman, so it would have been weird that it went from George Clooney back to Michael Keaton. It's kind of weird. And Chris Rock as Jimmy Olsen. Chris Rock was going to play Jimmy Olsen at one point, which would have been kind of interesting to see. I think he probably could play that character a little bit. Yeah. But that pretty much sums up Superman Reborn, so Superman Lives, and I am so sorry. The video is an hour long. I just had a lot to say about this. I feel really like an idiot now. But that's pretty much Superman Lives or Superman Reborn in a nutshell. The production was just absolute hell. It literally is a definition of production hell. It never got made. But there is a documentary that, will be probably focused around the whole production of Superman Reborn, so Superman Lives, which I definitely would like to see. I would like to see a little bit more information thrown in here. And this is all around just an interesting little, story that goes behind this whole, thing. There are also other attempts to make various other Superman movies after Superman Reborn, so Superman Lives. They wanted to make a Batman vs. Superman movie at one point, and they wanted to make this one movie called Superman Flyby, which would have had Krypton still alive, and Superman at the end of that movie would go off to Krypton, which would lead into a sequel, which I keep on hearing rumors that Krypton is still alive and it didn't blow up in Man of Steel. And if that's the case, it's probably going to ruin the movie a little bit. Well, actually, it's kind of an interesting idea, but I would like to see how they do that. But they tried to make other Superman movies after Superman Lives, but of course they never got made. The only one that did was Superman Returns. So that's kind of weird. But I'll get into that movie probably very, very soon before Man of Steel, because that will probably be a big wrap-up to my Super Month videos. So, thank you for sitting down and watching my 1 hour video. I really apologize for that. And I apologize for all my Super Month videos being very, very longer than my average videos. I just have a lot to say about these. And I really want to, get all the information correct. So I apologize completely on my part, but I just wanted to get all the information across thoroughly and correctly. But thank you for watching, and I'll be back with my review of Superman Returns that hopefully will be very, very shorter. These videos aren't scripted, so I don't really know how long these videos will end up being. But thank you for watching. Subscribe if you like. Tell me what your thoughts on on some of the decisions of Superman Reborn, Superman Lives, and 1, 2, 3 movies roll. And I'll be back with my review of Superman Returns or Blu-ray disc. All right, see ya.